Catacomb collapses, trapping the party with a starving dragon and no exit. Laos claws at falling stone, desperate to find any crack. The dragon's belly roars, its hunger echoing their own. They scramble toward a faint glow, hoping the heat marks a way out. A sudden tremor knocks the ground loose, revealing a shallow tunnel lined with glistening fungus. They crawl through, bruised but alive, the dragon's growl fading behind them. The tunnel leads upward, promising fresh air and a chance to regroup. And that's not even the worst part. The group staggers into the ruined village, stomachs empty, morale shattered. Laos wants food. The others cling to the hope of rescuing the sister. Fallon watches the simmering cauldron, her goblin eyes darting between the boiling meat and the trembling party. She wants proof that this monster-marinated feast will keep them alive. Yet the broth emits a faint green glow that hints at danger. She grabs a ladle, scoops a spoonful, and forces it down, feeling a sudden heat flare through her throat. The others follow, their faces turning as the spice burns. Their bodies surge with energy, but a sharp pain spreads through their limbs, warning that the price of survival may be far higher.
Your resilience ends here.
The party, now fueled by the risky broth, pushes toward the deepest chamber, where the dragon's heart still beats. The dragon's maw gnashed shut on Marcel's sister, and the party fled with empty packs and gnawing hunger. Laos hoisted the carrion dragon, while Senshi cracked a grin, slashing the walking mushroom's cap for broth. Chilkin snatched a scorpion, Fallon Goblin peeled its poisonous pincers, and Kuro flicked a mandrake scream into the cauldron. Their hot pot simmered, a grim feast that sparked a reckless vow. Rescue, eat, survive. The dragon's roar fades as Laos hoists the carcass. Marcel chants a binding spell, and Senshi slams a pot onto the cavern floor. Chilkin snatches a glowing mushroom while Fallon dissects a giant scorpion's venom-laced pincers. Kuro darts between flames, tossing screaming mandrake sprouts into the bubbling broth. A sudden, sharp clang echoes as a hidden door cracks open, spilling cold air onto the steaming pot. The party freezes, the hot pot's steam mingling with the new chill, creating a fog that obscures the exit. Laos grips his sword tighter, feeling the weight of the unknown beyond the doorway. Marcel raises her staff, ready to illuminate whatever lies ahead, while Senshi eyes the pot, fearing the fire might go out. Their brief victory over hunger now threatens to become a trap as the unknown darkness beckons. The dragon's jaws snap shut on Marcel's sister, and the party scrambles out of the ruined cavern, stomachs empty. Laos watches Senshi's eyes glitter at the idea of a dragon shabu feast, his mind already tasting the smoky broth. Senshi dreams of perfect dragon steaks, whispering plans for searing the meat with herbs and fire. Marcel, still wary, suggests adding eggs and rice to balance the fierce flavor. The party argues over seasoning, each voice louder than the last, while the dragon's carcass continues to emit a faint, sour steam. Finally, they agree to toss in a handful of glowing algae and a cracked egg, hoping the mixture will calm the beast's lingering magic. The pot erupts in a frothy blaze, sealing their resolve. Laos smashes the cursed altar and Senshi commands the fire as the party guts a dragon, a walking mushroom, and scorpion claws, turning death into a bubbling stew that steams with desperate hope. Marcel still aches for her sister swallowed by the dragon's maw, and every sizzle of meat on the spit tastes like a gamble between nourishment and failure. The dragon's massive carcass lies raw and dripping, its thick red scales promising either salvation or ruin as Laos stares down the next impossible recipe. You know what to do. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. They scorch the pork soup, then realize the monster they ate is still twitching. The party scrambles for a place to camp, eyes flicking over the dim, tomb-like corridor. Laos wants a safe spot before night bites, but the endless rows of broken graves block any clear path. He forces a narrow alcove open, pushes aside a crumbling stone slab, and forces the group to huddle on cold stone. The cramp saves them from wandering monsters, yet the stale air presses on their throats, promising a restless night. And that's not even the worst part. The dwarf chef mutters that locals call these vines man-eaters, a nickname born from countless tragedies. You feel the panic rise as the bar as Elias' vines twitch, sensing movement. Laos lunges, blade flashing, aiming for a thick root that threatens to swallow the camp whole. Senshi shouts, "Stop, ye fool!" But the plant's tendrils already coil around a fallen log, dragging it toward the gaping maw of the flower. The party scrambles, pushing against the crushing weight, their muscles straining. Marcel's spell flares, searing the vine's skin, buying them seconds. The plant releases a guttural hiss, its digestion humming ominously around them. He has no idea what's waiting. With the vine severed, the party surveys the damage. Splintered roots litter the ground like broken bones. With the stew now a heavy paste, Senshi slides the pan onto the open flame, letting the bottom sizzle. He wants a crisp edge to seal the flavor. The scorching metal threatens to scorch the delicate fruit, and the broth bubbles furiously, threatening to spill over. He flicks a handful of dried herbs from his pouch, sprinkling them across the surface, then watches the edges curl and pop. As the first bubbles rise, a thin crust forms, sealing the heat inside. The group leans in, eyes fixed on the bubbling surface, but the real problem is already in motion. Senshi sears the stew into a hardened, caramelized crust, slamming the pan onto the flame as the bar as Elia fruit's pulsing flesh threatens to burst from the scorching heat. Marcel clutches the bitter broth, feeling the sour sting sear her tongue while the lingering dread from her nightmare claws at her resolve, forcing her to choose between silence and a desperate scream. The party watches the dim glow of the remaining fruit flicker, unaware that the plant's hidden spores awaken, promising a poisonous bloom that could swallow them whole before they even reach the dragon's lair. The subscribe button is right there. It looks lonely. Click it for Manwa with Hari. The party storms the basilisk nest, blades flashing against stone-scaled beasts. Senshi snatches the venom-soaked meat, hurls it into a bubbling cauldron, then throws in mana herb, anti-poison roots, and a pinch of anti-paralysis mushroom. The stew erupts with a fragrant hiss, shattering the petrifying gaze. Laos bellows triumph, shouting that monster cuisine fuels their rescue of Marcel. Laos smashes the basilisk stone eggs, sparks flying as Choi hacks the nest wide open. Senshi roars, "Turn these death gazers into dinner!" Fallon darts between snarling heads, snatching anti-petrify herbs, while the dwarf chef tosses venom-spiked meat into a frothing cauldron. With broth still warm, Marcel begins a rapid healing chant, her hands glowing faint blue to seal lingering poison. The fire's ember flickers, threatening extinction. Senshi steadies the pot, shielding it from wind, while Choi drops a massive mushroom for extra stamina. Fallon darts for more anti-poison herbs, breath ragged from cold. The potion thickens, turning silvery, sealing wounds, but the surge of magic drains their remaining mana, leaving them vulnerable for the next encounter.
Stay focused. The danger isn't over.
Their bodies mend, yet the dungeon's heartbeat grows louder. The final spoonful slides onto a plate. The basilisk meat is tender, tasting oddly like chicken. The party forces a flickering fire to sear basilisk meat, turning deadly poison into a steaming broth that could fuel their next dive or petrify them all. Each ladle burns their hunger, granting fleeting power while gnawing at hope. As Senshi swallows courage and Marcel clings to a fragile spell protecting throats from turning to stone. The ember sputters, shadows gather, and the looming Golem King's stone guard edges closer, leaving the broth's cure incomplete and the party teetering on the brink of petrification. Real fans stick around. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari and let's finish this story together. The basilisk's belly bellows, and the party's only hope is to cook it alive. Laos shoves the wounded dragon spirit toward the cavern's edge, demanding a fresh catch before the creature starves again. Marcel curses the slow pace, fearing the dragon will awaken any moment. The group scrambles, clutching a half-eaten bat carcass as bait, while Senshi swings his blade to clear a path. Their frantic rush forces them to abandon the loot they'd gathered, leaving the party famished and the basilisk's hunger growing.
We need that basilisk now, before it wakes.
The roar fades, but the clock keeps ticking. Mark grits his teeth, insisting they can trap the basilisk with a simple rope swing. The party erupts as Marcel lags behind, forcing Senshi and Kai-Tu into a frantic dogger rope scheme. They tie a rope to a screaming mandrake, loop the other end around a swarm of giant bats, and yank the beasts into the plant's writhing roots. Laos snatches the shrieking bulb, slams it into a sizzling pan with a basilisk egg, and the group devours a chaotic mandrake basilisk omelet, laughter echoing through the cavern as the dungeon's terror turns into a feast. The party scrambles for clues, spotting fresh guano marking the bat's roost. Laos, remembering an old hunter's trick, signals the group to aim the rope toward the pile, using the scent to guide the pull.
Senshi steps forward, insisting the younger members must learn to trust the veterans. He tells them to lean on what each person excels at, promising the others will cover the rest. The party nods, eyes flicking to each other for reassurance. Their confidence builds as they form a silent pact to protect one another. Yet a lingering doubt gnaws at their thoughts. Can they truly survive without falling apart?
Your back's normal now, aren't you?
You feel the pressure of the dungeon pressing against every nerve. Laos acknowledges that without Mark's cooking, they'd starve before rescuing Luna. He suggests making an omelet, the only normal food they've spoken of, hoping the simple dish will lift morale.
The party seizes the glowing yolk, fries it over a crackling fire, and slams the sizzling omelet into the cavern, its radiant steam cutting through the bat-filled darkness. Marcel feels hope surge as the rare yolk promises life-saving nourishment, while Senshi's growling stomach finally finds relief, but the lingering toxin's whisper reminds them that every bite teeters on danger. A guttural roar erupts from deeper shadows as the omelet's warmth awakens a dormant beast, leaving the heroes staring at an unseen predator poised to strike before they can finish their meal. He's playing a completely different game than the rest of them. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The party bursts into the oil trap cavern, the halflings scream tearing the darkness. Laos swings his sword, demanding a path, but hidden pressure plates bristle beneath their feet. Marcel mutters a warning, eyes scanning for magical triggers, while Senshi grips his axe, ready to smash anything that moves. Chak darts ahead, tiny ears twitching, sniffing the faint click of mechanisms. A soft click echoes. One misstep could unleash a torrent of flaming oil. They freeze, breath held, knowing a single slip could burn them alive. And that's not even the worst part.
Stay quiet. The floor watches us.
Laos orders forward, insisting they must press on to rescue the trapped sister. With the exit reopened, they eye the rusted nozzle and trigger a potential weapon or cooking tool. Laos eyes a meal. Marcel keeps the oil stable. Senshi watches the flare. Chak plans to turn hazard into feast. Chak pulls the lever, releasing a controlled gush of warm oil that pools like gold. Marcel casts a minor fire spell, heating the oil without igniting it. They drop the battered skillet into the slick. Bat meat sizzles, filling the air with crisp, savory aroma. The risk of an uncontrolled blaze looms, but their stomachs grow louder than stone.
Pull it! Click! Their hunger roars, but a new threat looms.
The party watches the marinated bat pieces soak in oil, each slice glistening like dark jewels. Laos craves a bite that fuels his resolve to rescue his sister, yet the lingering oil clouds their vision, making every step a gamble. He urges the group to hurry, tossing chunks into the bubbling pan. The meat lifts, surprisingly light, its texture promising strength. Senshi lifts a massive bone, admiring its size, while Chak grins at the golden crust forming. The feast builds morale, but the cavern's echo hints at a deeper threat. The pan teeters on the brink, and the next move could flood the floor. The final batch drops into oil. The scent of fried mandrake and bat meat fills the cavern, and the party secures a solid, golden bite. Chak counts the pieces, noting perfect crust, while Senshi bites one, feeling muscles surge with basilisk egg strength. Marcel watches steam rise, spell keeping fire at bay. The dwarf nods, satisfied the meal will fuel their descent deeper. Bellies fill, but the labyrinth's darkness deepens, and a low rumble hints at a new threat. The party inches forward, each step a gamble against unseen pressure plates. Laos grips his sword, desperate to keep the group alive long enough to rescue his sister. Chak hurls the final batter into seething oil, the wok trembling as flaming mandrake and bat meat crisp into a golden, life-saving tempura amid exploding pressure plates. Laos feels hope flare as the first bite glows, while Sen's trembling hands tremble between triumph and the dread of losing his sister if the trap reignites. The oil slick spreads, the floor slickens, and a hidden pressure plate pulses ominously, promising another deadly burst that could shatter their fragile victory.
Watch him break every limit they set for him. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. Laos lunges through the clanking tide, steel flashing as Senshi smashes armor plates with a thunderous grunt. Marcel conjures a fire-kiss spell, sizzling the living metal while Choi darts between gaps, snatching the glowing egg. The unseen mages control snaps, the armor collapses, and the party hoists the pulsating core. Gleaming, crackling, a potential feast that could turn their starving desperation into a banquet of power. Laos slashes through the clanking legion, sparks flying as Senshi hammers armor plates into dust while Marcel conjures a fire-scented broth that blinds the metal guardians. Choi darts between the gaps, snatching the glowing egg before the unseen mage can seal it shut. Marcel explains that the armor is animated by magic, not alive, so its meat isn't truly edible. The party stares at the egg, disappointment flashing in their eyes. Senshi tries to rationalize, suggesting they could still harvest something, but the magic core resists any attempt to break it down. The group accepts that this monster cannot feed them, at least not now.
Can't eat magic armor.
Their hope shrinks, yet a new plan forms in the shadows. He has no idea what's waiting. You feel the weight of hunger pressing harder than any sword. Marcel suggests forging a different kind of dish, perhaps using the egg's inner essence instead of the metal shell.
Senshi steps forward, muscles tensed, planning to use his brute strength as a living armor battering ram. He wants to smash through the metallic line and create an opening for the others. The armor's relentless advance leaves no gap, and the mage's unseen magic seems to reinforce each joint, making brute force feel useless. He swings his warhammer at the nearest plate, aiming to jam the gears. The strike dents the armor but triggers a cascade of sparks, alerting the whole formation. The party loses precious seconds as the armor readjusts, tightening its formation even more. I'll hold them back, you find the mage. Their desperate gamble forces a new, riskier plan. Living armor surges forward, sealing the hallway as Laos and Senshi smash, shatter, and pry their way toward the pulsating egg, sparks flying from clashing steel. Marcel feels hope surge, knowing the egg could become broth that powers their quest, while Laos risks death, his ambition hanging on a fragile, humming crystal. The armor's unseen mage still commands the metal wall, the egg trembles, and the party stands trapped, unsure whether the core will grant salvation or unleash a greater horror.
We all know you should be sleeping, but you're here. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari anyway. Laos drives his blade deep into the hive armor's joint. Chitin and slime explode outward as the insectoid mass shatters. Senshi snatches the carcass, searing it instantly while Chilkin quips, "Who ordered the crunchy exoskeleton?" Marcel launches a fireball, igniting the broth as the party slurps the grotesque feast, fuel for their dragon-bound descent. Laos cleaves through the clattering hive armor, insectin carapace splinters into sizzling fragments. Senshi grabs a bronze-tinted chunk, flambeing the gooey innards while Chilkin darts between buzzing remnants, snatching a glowing egg. Marcel's fireball sears the broth as the party devours the once-dead weapon, now a steaming, crunchy victory. Laos shoves the shattered living armor aside, exoskeleton cracking like brittle glass.
Fire crackles, sparks flying as broth begins to boil. Laos watches steam rise, hoping heat kills lingering parasites while Senshi adds crushed mandrake. Chilkin's eyes dart to the dark tunnel where dragon shadows loom. Marcel's frost swirls around the pot, turning broth deep amber. The first spoonful brings strength, but each bite reminds them of sacrifice. The answer arrives too late. The broth's muscle-like texture pulses as the living armor's exoskeleton expands and contracts in the pot. Laos clenches his jaw, wondering how many more grotesque delicacies await. Senshi studies the simmering mass, counting wriggling pieces, mind racing for perfect seasoning. Chilkin tastes the broth, grin widening as flavor hits.
Laos demands a plan. Senshi steps up, eyes gleaming with culinary mischief. He wants to turn alien goo into meal before starvation. Slime clings to armor, slick and uninviting, blocking clean cuts. Senshi grabs dull blade, slashes through viscous film, splattering strange substance onto fire-ready spit. The party watches, stomachs growling, as goo sizzles, releasing repulsive yet appetizing odor. First bite fuels resolve, but also lingering dread. Laos eyes the bubbling mass, fearing poison, yet hunger drives him forward. He needs to know if the creature's flesh is safe. The broth bubbles erratically, steam curling like warning, faint hiss suggesting toxicity. Senshi trembles, admitting first time handling such prey, confidence wavering. Chilkin sniffs air, nose twitching at iron scent dominating campfire. He needs to know if stew truly satisfies hunger or brings poison. Thick steam rises, swirling around face, stray ember threatening to scorch broth. He lunges, slaps ember away, shoves rough stone into simmering liquid, forcing excess grime to rise and burst. Stew settles, clearer, richer color. Party's stomachs finally ease. Cost: bruised ego for dwarf whose pride cracks under heat. The party forces steaming armor into mouths, teeth grinding against metallic flesh. Laos chews hard, feeling strange crunch turn into softer, rubbery bite as material shrinks under pressure. Senshi watches piece dissolve, eyes widening when once solid plate collapses to fraction of size.
Laos eyes newly found sword, blade humming with unknown power. He needs reliable weapon to cut through next wave of living armor. Sword's surface flickers, hinting at dormant curse that could backfire at any moment. He raises it, half hesitant, half determined, asking Senshi to test its aura before committing. Senshi shakes head, muttering no one can guarantee safety with such dark metal. Party accepts risk, sword sliding into Laos's grip, weight promising both strength and danger. Cost: cold dread settles in bones, knowing blade might betray them when they need it most. The party devours molten armor, teeth locked on searing metal that softens into sickening rubbery crunch, taste of blood and regret clinging to lips. Laos's resolve hardens as he fights nausea, knowing stew's cursed essence masks deeper horror waiting to bloom. The pot boils over, spewing liquid iron that hisses into stone floor like dying beast's last gasp. The stew's acrid aroma floods the chamber, rusted metal laced with charred wood, stench clawing at throats. Chilkin's eyes narrow as he pries shard free, surface whispering whispers of poisoned steel and forgotten slaughter. The shattered armor's fragments twitch, hollow eyes glowing faintly blue, while Laos slams his fist, scattering glowing embers that crawl toward tunnel's end. The hive mind's roar pulses in their bones, a symphony of hunger.
I brought the story to life. Now bring this channel to life. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. Laos slams his blade into a stone golem, dislodging a bulging sack of emerald leaf cabbage that sprouts from its back. Senshi hefts the verdant prize, while Chilchuk rigs a makeshift irrigation net from discarded rope. Junpei drums a rhythm, Marcel weaves fire spells into the broth, and the party watches the simmered cabbage swell, steaming the dungeon's cold heart with newfound hope. Laos slashes a stone golem's arm, spilling glistening, emerald-tinted leaves that sprout like instant crops. Senshi hoists a massive cabbage, its veins pulsing with the golem's own magic, while Chilchuk rigs a crude irrigation system from dripping stalactites.
The golems shift, their massive limbs thudding against the castle floor, stirring dust and echoing through the halls. Senshi shouts, "Gather the cabbages!" as the party scrambles to harvest before the stone giants move again. A sudden crash erupts. An unseen trap snaps shut, sending a wave of stale air toward them. Junpei slams his shoulder into the stone, buying seconds for Chilchuk to pull the last cabbage free. Marcel whispers a quick spell, sealing the breach with shimmering light. The golems pause, their backs trembling, as if sensing the danger. The party's breath fogs the cold air, and the next step feels like walking on a wire. He has no idea what's waiting.
Exhaustion hangs heavy. The fight with monsters feels farther than the labor of tending stone giants. Senshi wipes sweat, admits the work tires him more than any blade. Chilchuk slams a barrel, demanding water to wash the grime from their faces. The group rushes to the ancient drain, pulling up a rush of cold liquid that splashes over cracked stone. They scoop the water into worn buckets, each swallows, a reminder of their dwindling supplies. The effort fuels a brief lunch, but the ache in their limbs deepens. After the water rush, Laos feels the urge to relieve himself, a simple need turned urgent in the damp cavern. The stew finally simmers, fragrant and thick, as the party leans in, hoping the nourishment will restore their strength. Sensi's sarcasm fades. He watches the golem's back soften as the broth seeps into the soil, realizing the stone giants thrive on the very effort they expend. Laos grits his teeth, angry at his own reliance on brute force, while Marcel quietly thanks the golems for their sacrifice. The cost is clear. Every bite binds them tighter to the dungeon's living soil, and the golem's quiet "ha" hints at a deeper debt. Their bellies fill, but the weight of that bond settles heavy on their shoulders. The answer is already too late.
Senshi volunteers to help, hauling waste from the latrine to the fertilizing pits, hoping to repay the golem's unseen service. He struggles with the heavy, steaming barrels, his muscles burning as he pushes them toward the nutrient-rich soil. Marcel watches, uneasy, remembering the foul smell of monster excrement. Yet she knows the golems rely on this cycle. The party argues whether to treat the waste as fertilizer or discard it, fearing contamination. They finally agree to feed the golems' gardens, trusting the ancient symbiosis. The effort exhausts them, but the soil darkens, promising richer crops. But the real problem is already in motion. The party scrambles to stitch together the centuries-old stone golems, welding cracks with magic and hammer, and reroutes the clogged waste channels, igniting a torrent of clean water that rushes through the dim corridors. Senshi basks in the fresh air, feeling triumph surge as his muscles ease, while Laos worries that the fragile guardians might fail again, and the group risks losing the vital sanitation lifeline they just reclaimed. A low hum reverberates from deeper levels, and the cracked golem beyond the restored chamber's shudders, hinting that a far greater collapse looms, leaving the party hanging over an unseen disaster waiting to erupt.
Imagine knowing exactly what happens before your friends do. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari and be the one with the answers. The party slams the final carrot into the wagon, panting from a day's harvest that should have taken weeks. Laos glares at the mountain of veg, knowing their empty stomachs will starve them faster than any monster. Marcel whispers that waste means death, while Sensi's fists clench around the sack handles. Their only option: find someone to take the bounty before rot spreads. They scan the dim corridor, ears picking up distant growls, and realize the deeper levels house hungry beasts ready to pounce on any careless noise. Their desperation fuels a frantic search for a trade partner.
We can't let this food rot.
The answer lies deeper, where the darkness hums with danger.
The goblin darts away, and the orc cook bursts out, eyes wide, shouting about a dragon cult that has driven their people underground. The party wants answers about the cult's link to the dragon that ate Lia. The orcs block the truth, fearing retaliation. Laos presses, demanding the location of the cult's shrine, but the orc captain shakes his head, pointing toward a distant cavern where dragon roars still echo. Senshi slams his fist on the table, refusing to leave without a lead, while Marcel prepares a defensive spell. The tension spikes, and the orc finally mutters a hesitant direction, costing the party precious time as the cavern trembles.
There's dragons on the move.
Senshi pours a splash of olive oil into the batter, the slick surface catching the dim torchlight. Laos flinches, "What?" as the oil splatters, fearing they've ruined the loaf. Senshi recalls the orcs' brutal raids, remembering how those same orcs once forced villages to give up their harvests. He mutters that the orcs always took more than they needed, then adds a final handful of oil, hoping the dough will stay supple. The party watches the sticky mixture swirl, uneasy but compelled to trust the dwarf's crude technique. What comes next changes everything. Marcel leans in, recounting the orcs' long trek underground after their homes were torched. Leos sniffs the rising scent, his stomach growling louder than the cavern's drip. He wants a taste of the promised bread, yet the orc chief blocks the first bite, claiming the dough as their own. He steps forward, demanding a share, while the orc brandishes a knife, warning that any theft will cost them dearly. The standoff freezes, the dough hovering between triumph and ruin. The party's hope hangs on a single bite, and the orc's cold stare threatens to shatter their fragile trust. But the real problem is already in motion.
You said you wanted bread, now we decide.
The party trades their improvised stew for the orc chief's reluctant permission to descend deeper, sealing the deal with a trembling fire-lit oath. Leos risks his crew's fragile trust and his own hope of rescuing his sister, while hunger gnaws at every member, forcing them to gamble their pride for a single bite. A hulking shadow flickers behind the tavern's doorway, and the orc's eyes narrow, hinting at a hidden bargain that could doom the group if they step forward. High-quality editing, perfect pacing, zero filler. If I delivered, hit subscribe on Manwa with Hari. Marcel slams a pan, laughter booming. Senshi drizzles honey-glazed mandrake broth over crunchy coinbug larvae. Leos bites the golden snack, eyes blazing with a promise to rescue his sister. June snatches a handful of treasure bug meat for the table. Kuro flicks his tail, whispering that even the smallest dungeon monsters can fuel a hero's quest. The innkeeper grins wider as empty plates clatter down. He leans in. You'll finally crush that lunatic magician. Marcel snaps her staff, Leos roars, and Senshi ignites his cauldron, turning squirming coin bugs into gold-sprinkled fritters. June hoards the crumbs, while Cole blesses each bite, feeling the dungeon's hunger roar louder. The hearth crackles while Senshi flambés buzzing coinbug larvae.
The party spreads the captured insects on a stone slab, each member sorting edible from poisonous. Leos craves a quick bite to stave off collapse. Senshi needs the right cooking method. The bug's shells glisten, making it hard to tell which are safe. Senshi needs dough, explaining that flexible shells mean edible pecan bugs, while rigid ones hide toxins. Marcel points out the coinbug markings, teaching them to read tiny embossments that differentiate male from female. June watches, learning the subtle art of monster cuisine. Minutes tick away as darkness grows louder.
Stay sharp, monsters approach.
The party ignites a makeshift grill, hurling shimmering coinbug larvae onto scorching metal as the insects crack, spraying sparks and a metallic aroma that fills the cavern. Leos feels a surge of triumph, tasting victory while Senshi trembles, fearing the feast's fleeting warmth might mask a deadly decay threatening their dwindling resolve. A low rumble echoes from deeper darkness as the undead corpse inches forward, hollow eyes locking onto the sizzling plates, leaving the party's next bite uncertain.
Miss one chapter and you'll be completely lost. Hit subscribe on Manwa with Hari and stay in the loop.